Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Magic Through Wrestling podcast. Right here we talk about the world of wrestling. We talk about the world of entertainment. We talk about the world of magic. We make you laugh. We make you cry. We're going to have you doing everything in between. I'm your host, Mari Zavallo. Here's my co-host, Jimmy Rook. Jimmy, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. It is an absolute honor and privilege to be here. I'm here with you, so that's okay. But it is great to be right here at the Magic Through Wrestling podcast. It is so exciting to be part of this. I can't wait. This is going to be great. This is going to be a great episode today. Our first episode, and it's already stacked. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. We've got an amazing sponsor to tell you about later. We've got an amazing guest. That's going to be really exciting. He has a huge story which actually ties magic and wrestling together and everything in between. It's going to be great.
You know, I think a lot of our listeners aren't going to understand how the two worlds go together, but they're going to collide, and they're going to collide in a big way today, for sure.
Absolutely. And also, you know, our listeners are also going to realize that their world is a lot more like wrestling and magic than they had ever thought.
Yes, you know, it takes a realization that, you know, they're going to have an eye-opening experience. The two worlds are very similar. I mean, through the course of this podcast, stories that we're going to tell, they're going to hear about some of my stories and some of your stories here coming up soon in some episodes in the future. Some crazy things you've done and how those worlds have mixed and you've had no idea. And vice versa. You know, my life has forever changed because of wrestling and magic. Two things that you think that have nothing to do with each other have put me on a path personally and professionally that I can never imagine. It's been a wild roller coaster for sure.
Absolutely. And we are out to find people with odd jobs, and we want to hear their craziest stories.
Yes, we do. What is better than that? We all know them, right? Yeah. We all know people that have done some crazy things. We want to hear about it right here, right now. We want to know your story.
Absolutely, because you know it's so crazy. You talk to people just in the supermarket, or you talk to them and they're your friends, and they just have the wildest stuff to say. And I wonder, why is somebody not giving you a microphone right now and telling people? Because it's the most heartbreaking, the most entertaining, the funniest stuff you'll ever hear. That's what we're here to uncover through this show as well.
I cannot tell you how many faces the faces people make when they say, "Wait a minute, so you're a magician and a police officer." What? And I'll tell you about stories about how those worlds have collided and how magic saved my life one night.
I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait. And, you know, in my world of profession, as a videographer / filmmaker, you know, I try to do everything with a wrestling point of view to it. I even did wrestling before in the indie circuit for a couple years. And we're going to get into all of this. I think our listeners are going to be really excited. I think they're going to be really entertained. And I think they're going to subscribe and stay subscribed for a long time.
Absolutely. We want you to be entertained, and that's exactly it. We want to give you a show like you've never, ever seen before. Why? Because we can.
That's right. So stay tuned and get ready for our very first guest. Who is our first guest, Jimmy?
We have Todd Bogue, 2018 Florida Magician of the Year, is in the house with us here tonight. All right, so this is awesome, okay? So I know for our first show, first guest, we had to bring somebody big. Somebody's huge. And I got the perfect person. You're going to flip out when you hear him, okay? Amazing performer, amazing magician, right?
All right.
You could see him at the Out of Control Magic Comedy Dinner Show a handful of times a month. You could see him at various resorts in Volusia County, okay? In fact, 2018 Florida Magician of the Year.
Oh, I know this guy.
My good friend, Todd Bogue. Todd, are you there?
Yes, sir. What's going on, guys?
How you doing, buddy? Welcome to the Magic Through Wrestling podcast. This is amazing. Thank you for taking time and joining the talk with us, man.
Yeah, Todd. Big fan, man. Glad that you're on our show.
So,
excellent.
Hey, bud, listen. Okay, we've talked. We've known each other for a while, and you have this amazing, amazing story about some great wrestling memorabilia. Okay, that's on display right now at the Hogan's Beach Shop. And I have to have you tell that story, bud. Can you do that for me?
But you know, before you do, this is a Magic Through Wrestling podcast, and anybody that comes on, there has to be a tie-in. But we have to go deeper. Now, this sounds like an awesome story. I didn't get the whole thing, but I'm really excited to find out about what is at Hogan's Beach Shop. But we got to know, what got you into wrestling? Where did this come from? How did you go from being a wrestling fan into magic? And, of course, who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Well, back in '75, my brother told me wrestling was coming to Titusville High School gym. And at the time, my hero was American Dream Dusty Rhodes. And he was fighting Ernie the Big Cat Ladd that night. And we went, and Dusty was a no-show. And first time I ever got my heart broke. It was when Dusty Rhodes. He didn't show up, and Steve Kern had to take his place. But I was still a Dusty fan. And he was, when I was a kid, everybody that I knew got the bionic elbow. That was my finishing move.
That's amazing.
And at the time, there was this guy named the Missing Link that was going through Florida, Georgia wrestling, who was taking everybody out. And they were saying that the following week he was going to fight Dusty Rhodes. And I was honestly scared to death because I thought, Dusty can't beat this guy. This guy's legit. And I was actually really scared. Like, I didn't want Dusty to show up because I did not want him to get beat by the Missing Link. And that was my first, I loved wrestling, but
did he have the face paint when you saw the Missing Link, the green and blue?
It was just green. His face is green, and he had the patch of hair in the back, and that's what he wouldn't just headbutt people. He would grab his hair, his own hair, and they used his hair as leverage to pull himself in and give the headbutt. That was his.
That's amazing.
His deal. And he had the black shorts and black elbow pads, and I just remember. But 1984, Hulk Hogan had won. Hulkamania just started, and I wasn't a Hulkamaniac. I wasn't sold. And he was wrestling. It was December. I don't know the date. My birthday was December 8th, so it was like December 10th or December 11th. It was a couple days after my birthday, 1984. And he was fighting Brutus Beefcake in Orlando. And I had a couple friends at school knew I was going. They were like, "Oh, Hulk Hogan's this and that." I'm like, "Whatever." No, I was like one of those smart-ass kids. I always liked the villain. I liked the bad guys. So I was wanting Brutus Beefcake to win. So I'm there with my dad. And when they introduced Hulk Hogan and his music hit, and it was "Eye of the Tiger" at that time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but it was so amazing. I became a Hulkamaniac that second, and it all changed. I mean, my dad and my brothers would give me crap. "Oh, are we allowed to use profanity on this?"
Yeah, why not?
It's the first show. Go ahead. Now you're going to lay a precedent for every other guest.
Say I was gay for Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Okay, let's just be. They would always say stuff like that. They'd give me a hard time. And when I was 1989, I actually caught Hulk Hogan's headband. He was wrestling Ted DiBiase, and this was also at the Orlando Civic Center on I-Drive, about a quarter mile away from Wonderworks. And I caught his headband, and I still have it.
Wow.
That was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And that was but in 1988, Hulk Hogan was coming. I don't know who he's wrestling that year, but I made a banner that says Hulkamania live forever. It's a big sheet, and me and a friend named Barbie Burke made it, and just big old Sharpie marker. And so when the 1990 Royal Rumble came around, Hulk Hogan won the Royal Rumble, and I actually got the first 4 seats for that Royal Rumble.
Wow.
I was at a place called Mother's Records at Merritt Island. I got there early, and I'm standing there, and the guy's typing in the computer, like started selling tickets at 9 a.m. on a Monday. So he went in about 8:58, just started typing, and the second the tickets went on sale, I got the very first 4 tickets.
Wow.
So when you look at the 1990 Royal Rumble, I'm the 4th person. That's from the left or right. There's 2 girls to the left, and my buddy from Australia was the 3rd seat, and I was the 4th seat. Since I got us the tickets, I had the best one, which is closest to the center. Wow. So Hulk Hogan wins the Royal Rumble, and the best part, it was down to him and Mr. Perfect, and Mr. Perfect was chewing gum. And
As he
Hulk
always
Hogan
did.
punches him, and he would always take this gum and spit it and then smack it into the crowd. Well, he didn't get a chance to do that yet, so Hulk Hogan hits him, and his head slings back, and the gum, you watch the video, the gum falls and lands in my lap.
No way.
Look to the side. You see me look to the side, and I look down the ground, and I pick the gum up and put it in my pocket.
Please tell me you still have it.
So when it's time to go home, I got the keys. I go to get the keys out of my car to leave, and my keys are all stuck together. Kurt Hennig's gum. And I was telling some other wrestling fans, they're like, man, you could have had Kurt's DNA, and you could have brought him back to life if you would have kept that gum. But I didn't keep the gum.
I was thinking the exact same thing. You could have made another Kurt Hennig.
Yeah. So, anyways, Hulk Hogan wins, and he points to me. I'm holding this banner, and he points to me, and he grabs the sheet that says Hulkamania will live forever. So if you ever see the video of any Hulk Hogan collaboration or whatever you call it, the video things, there'll be a picture of him holding that sheet, and that's a sheet that I made for him.
Wow.
So he folded it up and he gave it back to me, and I had it in my closet for years. I mean, this is 1990. January of 1990 was actually the very first event in the Orlando Arena. Of any event ever. It was the very first event in the Orlando Arena.
Wow, what history.
That's a long time ago. That's how long ago this was.
Wow.
So I had the sheet, and 2013. 2013, I went to Hulk Hogan's Beach Shop in Clearwater, and there's a guy that works there. His name is... he's the manager of the shop. Ron Howard, the same as Richie Cunningham. His name is Ron Howard. It's just a coincidence they have the same name. So Ron Howard is the manager of Hogan's Beach Shop in Clearwater. I gave him that, and he gave me a bunch of stuff for 50% off. And he says, oh, man, this is so awesome. And he called Hogan on the phone and told him about it. And I was like, well, it would have been cool if you let me talk to him, but he didn't. So then he says, oh, we're going to put this in Orlando shop. We're going to have Orlando shop. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then they open up the Orlando shop. And it's been hanging in there ever since. And I have friends call me all the time, people getting their picture taken with them. I've been in there several times, and they've cut it down. It used to be a full-size sheet that you would lay on like a twin bed, but they cut it, and it's a little bit smaller now. They took probably about 20 inches off, maybe 10 inches off each side. But if you look in the very bottom corner, you'll see the Boguester and the date that I made it. It has my signature in the bottom right.
That's amazing.
So it's pretty cool.
When did you realize it was in there on display?
The weekend that opened up, I had my friends, people.
That was during WrestleMania weekend 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was here. Yep, when they were here.
So I had people calling me. They told me they were going to do it, but I've been in there 2 times, and I've talked to managers. I've told them, hey, I'm the one that what. Hey, here, I'd like to donate a magic show to Hogan. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And I don't think they even really believe, because Ron Howard hasn't been in there. He was in there because he pulled up the Royal Rumble on video, and we're watching it, and I told him about the gum laying in my lap, and he's freaking out. He's dying laughing, and I'm like, so.
Todd, I just want you to know, if they ever do call you and you have to do a show for Hogan, I will be your assistant. Yeah. You can saw me in half. We'll do the sub-trunk, whatever you need. I have a sub-trunk. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, and I'm a filmmaker, so I'll film the whole thing for you.
That's awesome. But I've went in there and I've talked to a couple people, and I don't know. I'm sure, I don't know. Anybody could just walk in there. I'm like, look, this is my business card. It says Todd Bogue. See the Boguester on the bottom of that thing right there. I mean,
that's amazing.
But, I know he's busy, so
So let me ask you this: how did you go from being the guy that accidentally caught Kurt Hennig's gum to a magician? That's a big leap,
Oh my gosh. Well, it's I was a comedian first. Okay, and I was a comedian, and I was the worst comedian in the history of the world. But how I got into can I talk about how I got into comedy? Because it's a story.
Yeah, please.
This is your show.
Well, I
you're
was
the
a bull
guest.
rider, and when I was ready to retire in '99, I always wanted to keep rodeoing and travel with my friends, but I knew my body. I was 29 at the time, so I was too old. My body, it was just painful, and I wanted to keep traveling with my friends, so I wanted to be the clown. Not the clown, one of the clowns that saves the guy, but the clown in the can that tells the jokes. I always loved that. I always loved making people laugh. So I started writing jokes and stories and routines to put, so when I became a clown, I'd already have it ready. And I did this for years before I quit bull riding. Well, I quit in '99, and it was 8 years after that, in 2007. I was going to comedy shows in a town in Titusville, and it's a place called Action Billiards. And I, at that time, was like, you know what, I'm not going to do the rodeo thing. I'm past that. I don't really, I know it's not going to happen. So I had this book with all these jokes and stuff, and I brought it to the comedy show, and I brought it to the venue that has the comedy shows on a Wednesday. And I says, hey, is the comedian that hosted? I says, he says, no, he's just here for comedy nights, I'm like, well, I have they said, are you a comedian? I'm like, no. I says, I have this book, though. I have some routines and jokes I'd like to give to him. So they're like, well, he's not going to be here this week, and we have our feature, or our guest spot, it's supposed to do 15 minutes, isn't showing up. You can do it if you want. You got 15 minutes? I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not interested. So I went and had 2 beers at the end of the bar. And I said, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. So I told him I'd do it.
Wow.
And it was the worst thing in the history of the world. It was so bad.
Do you remember what you said?
Oh, it's a bunch of crap jokes. It was like, I didn't know the rules of comedy. I didn't know that you had to write everything, So I was telling street jokes, and I'd only made like 2 jokes that were mine, and the rest were street jokes. And so it was all bad, and it was, I was trying to be vulgar, and I was really disgusted.
You were going for the cheap heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not good.
Now, were there like a bunch of kids there? Was that like your luck that night? It was like a family comedy?
No, I sold the place out. I had told all my friends. It was only like a 40-seat venue. It was a small venue, and I filled the place.
Wow.
They were so happy because it was like a full house, and it was maybe 50 seats tops, and it was just slap full of my friends, and it was bad.
Wow.
It was, because I'm just the confident. I said, man, I know I'm funny. I guess I've been always telling jokes.
Right.
I just had a good memory.
Right.
I had the timing. Yeah, I just remembered jokes. I was not a comedian. I had no timing. I didn't have a stage presence. I didn't have anything. I just had a good memory. And when I turned around, I was confident. And when I turned around, the lights were in my face. That was it.
Yeah.
It was like got cotton mouth, but how I got into magic though is I have a friend who's blind, 100% blind. And I was his guide. We would run races like half marathons and 5Ks and 10Ks.
Wow.
And I would have a rope that I would, I was just his guide.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to learn a magic trick. So me and him went to a magic store, and I had to learn a trick to teach him, and I just fell in love with it.
Todd, what was the trick?
It was something simple like nickels to dimes or something.
Got it.
Like 52 card pickup or something.
So what we went in there to buy though, we really, it was a humongous blessing that we went to a toy store to buy a deck of cards. We went to buy a big deck of cards is what we're looking for. And this toy store was out of them, and we went to the magic shop, and they had them. So we really wasn't looking for a magic trick. We were looking for a big deck of cards to do a magic trick that I told him about a comedian that had a small deck of cards. He said had a big deck of cards. It said pick a card, and the person, he said, showed the crowd, and then the person turned around and showed the crowd. He would put that big deck down and then pick up a small deck and say, put it back in.
Michael Finney?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, I told him about this trick. I said, this is something that you could do. And he says, perfect. So we were looking for a big deck, so he couldn't mess that trick up. And that was it. And because of that trick, it started it all. The first year, 1 year, I counted my receipts. I spent $125 a week on Magic for 1 year.
Wow.
That's what I averaged.
That's wild.
And I don't do any of that crap.
Yep.
It's all... but I didn't know I was so in love with it. I loved the feeling I got when I would entertain people. Or they would just like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. You're like, where'd you get these powers? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is stupid. It's like, I remember my mom wanted me to go to church with her. And I was like, okay. She says, well, my pastor and our prayer group wants to talk to you. And I'm like, why? I'm like, well, we're worried about you. Why? Well, you didn't have these powers when you were a kid. I'm like, I don't have any powers. I'm still a jackass. Cool stuff.
Oh man, you should have no sold it. I mean, you should have just completely, went with it. And,
I know.
No,
but my mom would be so embarrassed. I mean, I should just go in there and start Chris Angel floating on him.
Yeah, what if you did that water trick in the pool and you had like a girl in a bikini underneath you swimming?
Yeah. You go, good night. That's so embarrassing.
Now I gotta ask you. I gotta go back because I know I asked this in the beginning. So somebody will point it out if I don't ask you. You mentioned, I asked you who your favorite all time was. We talked about Hulk Hogan. Talked about Dusty. It's not Kurt Hennig's Double Mint Gum.
No.
Maybe favorite memory though.
Todd,
Nope.
Todd, real quick. Hey, Todd, real quick. Be honest. Do you have a Kurt Hennig locked away in a closet somewhere? Like, did you make Kurt Hennig?
And is he Mr. Perfect or is he almost perfect?
I wish he could help me with my golf swing. I wish I could.
It would be perfect.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
I always liked people that were great on the mic. I never really cared about the wrestling moves. I think I would never, like, people are like, oh, that Ric Flair is better than Hulk Hogan. I like Ric Flair because he came out with 2001 music. That is what I like. Intro is so important.
Yep.
The entrance music, like, if you don't get goosebumps when Iron Man hits and the Road Warriors come out,
Yep.
NWA days.
That's why I mentioned earlier, whenever Frank and I were talking earlier, Bret Hart is my all-time favorite. He checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
See, for me, it's the Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah,
and
Shawn Michaels. They're basically
exactly.
so similar.
Yeah, absolutely. They check all the boxes. He could talk on the mic. He didn't need anybody. The intro, God, as soon as you heard, oh, Shawn, you knew that was it, right?
Yep.
My voice doesn't go as high pitched as Sean's or Sensational
Bret Hart's
so I'm gonna
guitar.
try it, right? You knew the excellence of execution was coming in. I mean, there are so many classic things that you heard and you knew things were about to get real.
And they could wrestle better than anybody.
Absolutely, they could back it up, and that's Todd. I don't. I've seen your show a handful of times. But like for me, I do the same thing. I try to have an intro song when I come out that sets the tone.
Yep.
And I don't like seeing the audience before showtime. I like that mystery of the performers backstage, and I try to keep that vision for them.
Uh-huh.
At
the Wonderworks, I can do that.
Right.
But at my resort shows, I'm all by myself.
Yeah.
I'm the ticket taker.
Yeah.
I take the money.
The promoter too.
Yeah.
I'm the promoter, I mean, but I'm the promoter weeks in advance. I've got the billboards and the stuff that's already at the resort when they show up. So
Hey, it's on the grind.
I do. When I get there, when I show up, I go to the pool area. I go around, hey, introduce myself to everybody, invite them to the show, and then go inside and set up the show. Then go back out. There's gonna be another group of people at the pool in the lobby. Introduce myself again, and because every single person I see is, possible.
Yep.
Person come to the show.
That's right. And Todd, I know we're getting a little bit low on time, but one thing, because I actually met you before, even though I never got to see your show. I was in the hot tub at a resort, and you were coming around, and I wanted to see your show, but I actually had to leave that night because you came a little bit earlier before your show. And my wife went, and she said that you actually incorporate wrestling in your magic.
Yep.
So you kind of did mix the worlds together after all.
Yep.
Could you give us a little bit of an insight into that, or do you have to come see the show? Come see it anyway, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, yeah. But no, I couple things I do. I've always loved to be the bad wrestler. One of my favorite bits of all time, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase told a little kid, I'll give you $100 if you could bounce this basketball 10 times. And the kid got to the 9th bounce, kicked it out, proud. I was watching that on I was laughing so hard. And I hate bullies, believe me. And it's just, I'm contradicting myself because that was the biggest bully thing in history. I promise I don't bully people. I don't bully kids on stage, but I love the bad. Like, I have a dog balloon, right? Make a dog balloon. I tell the kid, you can have it when I'm done. And I ask the kid, I ask the kid what his dog's name is. And whatever the dog's name is, I make that dog with. And I say, "Has your dog ever gave you his paw?" And like, no. I says, this dog's about to give you his paw, and this dog can also play dead. And I step on the balloon and break pop it, and then I pick up a piece of the rubber and I hit the kids. Said, "There you go, there's paw." And the crowd is
it's amazing,
booing, and I love it. And then I produce the balloon. I make it come back.
Yep.
And then I bring it back. But I love that 5 seconds where everyone hates me.
Yep.
That's amazing.
But as far as the wrestling, I do a thing where I get 5 random people, and I'm playing. I says, "We got any wrestling fans?" As I'm going through the crowd to get them, I'm playing Hulk Hogan's Real American theme music, and I get them on stage, and I say, the reason I asked if we had any wrestling fans, because we're all about to become luchador wrestlers. So me and the 5 people are on stage are all wearing different color masks. And I give them a deck of cards, and they all pick a card out of the deck of cards. I say, "You're not going to tell me what your card is, but in a big, strong, intimidating voice, say your name and the city and state you're from." And I said, "This is the kind of charisma I want from you guys." And I go in deep. I mean, my voice is real deep, and I get real loud. I'm like, "My name is Todd Bogue, and I'm from Port Orange, Florida." Bits going out of my mouth, and it just surprises everybody because I go from calm to really loud. So everyone's laughing, and then those people are trying to do this, and it's fun. And then I tell them, it's all, the way I tell them how I do it is totally different than the way I really do it, but it's fun, and they're all, everyone's taking pictures. It's video. Every single show I do, people are video. And did your wife, was she one of my guests for that trick?
She was. She said you had her do like an impression of, like a wrestling impression. I guess kind of like you're saying, I haven't been to the show, but I was so jealous because I forget who she did. I think she might have tried to do Stone Cold because I do Stone Cold impressions all day long. We even got married on 3/16
Yes,
because of it. So, so I don't know, but yeah.
It's great, man.
Every single time I'm in a restaurant, when a waiter breaks a glass,
you know it's about to go down.
Start looking around. Somebody open up the can.
Well, I go into the Stone Cold theme music the second a glass breaks. I don't care where I'm at in life. If I hear a glass,
start looking around.
And hit it through somebody's window with a golf ball, and I go into Stone Cold.
That's awesome. Well, Todd, man, listen, we appreciate you coming out and being on the show. This has been fantastic. We've enjoyed kind of hanging out with you. Now,
Awesome.
for the listeners that are going to be out there, we definitely want to come see your show. So, Todd, do me a favor. Tell us where you're going to be performing. Where can we see you? How can we come see a ridiculous comedy show?
And your last name is Bogue, right?
Yes.
Okay. For the listeners who might be trying to Google
website,
you.
ToddBogueJoke.com. ToddBogue jokes.com. Every Tuesday, I'm at the Islander Beach Resort in New Smyrna, 7 p.m. Every Wednesday, I'm at the Royal Floridian Resort, Ormond Beach, at 7 p.m. And every Thursday, I'm at the Shores Resort and Spa in Daytona at 7 p.m. And I do work at Wonderworks several. If you go to their website, you can see the days of the month I'll be performing there. Each month it's different. But I work at over 55 communities and golf courses all over Florida. So
you are one busy guy. Wow. Thank you so much for spending time with us through your busy schedule. We really appreciate it.
I had a blast.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man. Thanks for taking time. I'm glad you came out. And Todd, I think it's only fitting that I appreciate it. We're going to end it with 2 words for you. I got 2 words for you, Todd. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye, bud.
All right, everybody, and that was Todd Bogue. You can find him and his bookings for all of his upcoming events at toddbogujokes.com. That's ToddBogue jokes.com. Be sure to check him out.
So, listen, we have to, while we're here, remember to thank our good friends at the Strength Shop in Longwood. That's right. You can check them out at tssathletics.com. Go in there. Tell them Frank sent you. You're going to ask for Matt. This guy is great. Let me tell you, he saved a year of my career. I had torn my shoulder. Doctors wanted me to have surgery. And I said, man, I don't want to do that. I went into him. Personal training. He built my muscles up, built my shoulder back up. Within 3 weeks, I was back to full duty at work. It was fantastic. Great place, tssathletics.com, the Strength Shop in Longwood. You will not be disappointed.
And everybody, that is the show. Thank you for tuning in.
It's been great. Guys, do me a favor. When you're home, go on your favorite social media sites. Remember to search for Magic Through Wrestling Podcast. That's where you're going to find us on all your social media. We had a great time. We can't wait to see you next week.